News Radio KMAN weather.
Right now in Manhattan, 86 with mostly sunny skies, wind out of the northeast at around 9 miles an hour. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 64, then tomorrow 30% chance of showers mainly before 10 in the morning. After that, a gradual clearing of the clouds with mostly sunny skies and a high near 89. Tomorrow night mostly clear and a low around 72, then warming up for the weekend. Mostly sunny and a high near 94 on Saturday. Mostly sunny with a high near 97 on Sunday. Both days, wind gusts as high as 25 miles an hour out of the south. We got the game up next here on News Radio KMAN.
KMAN Daily Weather is presented by Fox Business Systems. How much does downtime cost you and your business? Don't let another second go by. Call Fox Business Systems at 776-1452.
The following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State athletics. It's game time. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Been seeing a lot of countdowns on social media about the countdown to college football officially getting underway. Now, I've been counting down the days until K-State football. We're at 9.
Single digits.
But Cole, let me ask you, how many days away are we from college football?
Well, I mean, technically 0.
And that's what I'm getting at here, because the countdowns I've been seeing, we're still 2 days away from college football. Well, apparently you're not a real die-hard college football fan. You're
like
not
an hour out.
You're not a sicko. You're not an addict of college football, because we're not 2 days away. We're not a day and a half away. We're 53 minutes away from college football getting underway, because, folks, Maine and Towson, Stony Brook and Delaware State getting ready to kick off at 5 o'clock Central to officially launch our college football Division I season. Welcome to the game. Mitch Fortner, Cole Dutchendorf.
Me personally, I'm going to be watching Morehead State versus Ohio Dominican. They're also kicking off at 5 o'clock. That's going to be on my TV here in the studio.
Yes, from Jane Stadium in Morehead, Kentucky, there are 22 FCS college football games kicking off between 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock. So if you got an itch that needs a good scratching, I mean, there you go. Of these 22 college football games, by a quick count here, 19 of them on ESPN+. The other 3, well, ESPN isn't telling me where they're at, so good luck finding them. But I'm sure they would happen to be somewhere. Every college football game is broadcasted somewhere. Ohio Dominican, I'm dying to know what their mascot is, because they have a logo I've never seen before. It looks like a paw, but at the same time, it looks like brass knuckles. And to be honest with you, it's a pretty sweet logo. It's basic, but it's sweet. They're the Panthers. I don't know. I was expecting something a little cooler than Panthers, I guess, with that kind of logo. Is Mountain Lion cooler than a Panther? Kind of in the same family, right? Jaguar, Cheetah. There's not enough cheetahs as mascots. You ever heard of a team named with the mascot Cheetah? Cheetahs run fast. They tackle their prey at high speeds, and then they go tumbling. Like, you want to talk about some of the most interesting animal-on-animal chases on the Discovery Channel or National Geographic. A cheetah is fun. We need more cheetahs out there as mascots. Coming up in today's show, we're with you until 5:30. Royals coming up at 5:30. They finally lost. Bums back to normal. 9-game losing streak has come to an end. People were talking like, oh, they still have a shot. They still have a shot. No. Nope, they achieved like their longest winning streak in like 7 years or something like that. That's all well and dandy, but the season is still 9 years, still over. They lost 3-0 yesterday. It was probably the umpire's fault. Nothing the Royals could do wrong right now. Hey, we also start today the Manhattan Record High School Football Preview Show on-air coverage. We'll first preview the Wamego Red Raiders. We're getting ready to kick off their season a week from tomorrow. And 20 questions in 20 shows. Today's question, it's question number 19. We have just 2 left previewing this K-State football season. Where will the Cats be the most improved in 2026? And I think this is going to be a 2-parter. We'll have to break this up into a couple of segments because there is a lot to cover, in my opinion. It could be a gut thing just from what you saw with your own eyes. This could be based on statistics. It can also go hand in hand, but we're going to start breaking that down here in just a little bit. I'm going to start listing some games with this FCS schedule. And I'm going to go based on what the NCAA released as an article as like the best FCS games in week 0. You stop and tell me, do you think that's the biggest game on the schedule? I'm just going to start listing off some games here. What feels like a big game?
Yeah.
And then, Cole, you stop me when you think you've heard the best game on the schedule. Eastern Illinois at Murray State.
I've heard enough.
You think that's it?
No.
How about Gardner-Webb at Austin P?
No, that's not doing it for me.
I think one of those are in the Ohio
Shout
Valley.
out to Travis Bates, though.
Chattanooga at West Georgia.
Nope.
Well, did you know K-State's first opponent of the season, you can scout them tonight.
Yes.
Mississippi Valley State at Nichols.
That's a barn burner.
The answer, if you're a K-State fan, would be that game because you can scout Nichols tonight.
Right.
And I will be certainly doing so, watching the Colonels in action, taking on the Delta Devils of Mississippi Valley State, who, just like their basketball team, their baseball team, their rowing team, their fencing team, their hopscotch team, probably the worst in Division I college athletics.
I heard they're nice in beer pong, though.
I would like to see it before I believe it.
Official sanctioned NCAA sport, of course.
Nichols played them a couple of years ago and won like 50-0. And then they went to like Arkansas and lost 57-30.
Progress.
That was a couple of years ago. All right, I'll keep mentioning some games here. Central Arkansas at UT Martin.
Nope, that's not a needle mover for me.
South Dakota School of Mines at Drake.
Well, that one's intriguing. I'm not familiar with the South Dakota School of Mines, just the Colorado School of the Mines, but I don't think Drake is exactly known for their football.
How about Anderson versus Furman? I think that's a high school game.
Well, Furman's Virginia, right?
It is a Division I team.
I was going to say.
Well, let me give you this high school game: Concord at Davidson.
Now that's one I'm ready to watch.
How about Southern Illinois at West Florida?
No, not that one at all.
Well, according to the NCAA, that is the biggest game tonight.
Okay, I would not have guessed that one.
Southern Illinois is ranked 16th in the country. West Florida, unranked. This is their caption. Former Division II power West Florida makes its FCS debut against a Southern Illinois team with a playoff expectation this fall.
Okay.
The Salukis, that's Southern Illinois, for those that didn't know, also have one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the FCS in DJ Williams. Week 0 presentations, an intimate test to see if West Florida can continue its winning ways while moving up a level.
Okay, I'm intrigued. They got my attention.
They have said that's the 6th biggest FCS game tonight. And by the way, it used to be that if you're a degenerate gambler, college football probably a part of your life, your gambling life. Well, now almost every FCS game has a line, especially this week. I mean, if you're betting on these games, you need a hotline real bad.
No doubt about it.
Who knows anything about these teams unless you're a one of 150 season ticket holders of this actual team.
This is and this is not from experience. This is from secondhand hearing it. This is I want to have something invested in this game to make me want to watch it. So let me throw down $5 and hopefully I can make some money. But more than that, I'm going to be entertained by a couple of FCS schools battling it out.
There are a pretty decent amount of close lines, but the largest line is Mercyhurst at Youngstown State, and Youngstown State favored by 30.5 points. Our friends from Ohio Dominican at Morehead State, they do not have a line because they are not Division I. The other thing I want to get to before we take a break and we start getting into where K-State will be most improved in 2026 is that 30 minutes after we wrapped up our show yesterday, the Big 12 put out a statement. And this is not a surprising statement because others around college athletics are doing the same. But the Big 12 was the first to do something. But I'll just read you this release. It was a pretty short one. But what you're seeing around college athletics is the ban of basically professionals. The Big 12 has unanimously adopted a conference rule barring Big 12 member institutions from fielding professional athletes in any conference-sponsored sport. Now, prior to that, the SEC, they did it first, but it was, if I remember correctly, it's football, yes, but also basketball in there.
Yes.
The Big Ten comes up and says, we're just doing football. We're just doing football for now.
I can see that.
And then the Big 12 is third to the table here, and they're saying all sports, which has raised, and we did get a question about this, so that's why I'm addressing it now. Let me get to some more details in this release. The Big 12 says no member institution may roster an athlete who has at any time, number one, declared for the draft or a supplemental draft of a professional sports league and did not timely withdraw from before the draft, been listed on a roster of a professional sports league, or 3, signed a contract with any professional sports league to provide athletic services. This rule will apply independently of the status of NCAA eligibility determinations. So you may recall where this all comes from is actually coming from what LSU, what Lane Kiffin was trying to do. There were 2 players that, maybe, as far as I understand, is not working out for them post-college life, but signed a contract, not going to make a roster. They're trying to come back to school, and there was if I remember right, there was an injunction.
Yes, that is correct, in Louisiana.
And then the SEC is like, look, if you're going to do this, we're going to suspend your head coach for a half a season, and then there's going to be other suspensions for a half a season. They're going to lay down the law.
Fine 50% of the sports budget as well, which is significant.
And ever since the Big 12 came out with theirs, and the ACC is basically following suit on banning pros. But Lane Kiffin was trying to get 2 players to come back and play with players that have eligibility left that were playing for him at Ole Miss. And even the SEC was like, oh, hell no. It was so, oh, hell no from the SEC. And I saw a couple of posts here that apparently LSU message boards were like, all right, is this time that we just leave the SEC?
Are they the Texas Tech of the SEC now?
Yeah, it was kind of like, like with KU fans are like, oh, the Big 12 or the Big 10, they're just dying to have us. Anybody would just be dying to have us. Next round of conference realignment, we're getting that call. LSU is like, maybe it's time to bounce.
Independent for LSU.
Yeah, like maybe we're gonna call Texas Tech. We're gonna call the Cats. We're gonna call Oklahoma State. Maybe a Miami, and say, hey, let's just make our own conference.
Sure, why not?
The question we got about that pertaining K-State was about Nastia Classens. Because Nastia did get drafted. A couple of years ago was drafted by the Mystics in the 3rd round. And so I reached out. Randy Peterson's all on top of this. He's from K-State women's basketball and from soccer, the SID, and also a big Twins fan. I'm sure he's loving what Kaylin Culpepper has been doing, which I hope I think we'll have that in our Game Sports update about Kaylin Culpepper, who's hitting a bunch of home runs right now. So this will not apply to Nastia Classens. Even though she's played some pro ball, she was drafted in the WNBA. This from Randy. He says the Mystics still have her draft rights, but
interesting.
Nastya never signed a contract.
Okay.
She never signed a contract, but the Mystics still have her draft rights. So they'll have their first option. Once she's done with college basketball, they can say, all right, come on in. You're ready to go. Let's play some pro basketball. And, you're not going to make any money. You're not going to get what you deserve, but...
Well, hey, now in this version of the WNBA, she might get a few coins now.
I would hope so.
That salary has risen.
But
salary cap, I should say.
But Randy feels like their leadership, it's hard to tell if she would be picked up or not. Things have changed since she has been drafted, so potentially philosophies have changed. That all makes sense, right? So, no, Nastya nor anybody else with K-State right now, as far as I understand, would be involved in this. Everybody should be safe, good to go. We're clean. We play by the rules around here, even though a rule was just made, things like that. We're all set to go for the upcoming 2026-2027 basketball season and football season. And soccer already underway at 4-0. Volleyball getting ready to start the regular season. When we come back, Part 1, 20 questions in 20 shows. Today's question, where is K-State most improved in 2026? That's coming up next. You're listening to The Game. Looking for. It's Manhattan's go-to spot for catching every Wildcats or Chiefs game and enjoying live music that plays the songs you actually know. Come early for a good seat, great music, and cold drinks served up right. Stay in the loop. Check out their Facebook page for the full schedule of events. Bottle Caps, where the music's live, the game's always on, and the vibe is just right.
Bottle Cap Sports Bar located on West Anderson across from Dairy Queen.
Pawnee Mental Health's mobile crisis services are there when help is needed most, 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. Now, you can help support that work at Inspiring Hope and Help September 10th. You're invited to an evening of hope, help, and impact with the exceptional dinner, inspiring stories, a thrilling live auction, and special guest speaker, Sally Linton. Tickets are available on the Pawnee Mental Health website. Plus, purchase of a $75 raffle ticket for your chance to win a $12,000 CF Moto U4600. Support mobile crisis services at Inspiring Hope and Help, sponsored by Manhattan Broadcasting.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. The Alzheimer's Association provides care, support, and research to help you take control of the situation with your family and manage the disease together. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time to talk, a message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
You said you'd never buy your kid candy from the checkout aisle. Or forget extra diapers. And never give in to a meltdown. You'd never lick your thumb to clean their face. Never let them have too much screen time. And never bribe them for just one more bite. You say you'd never let them out in public without their hair brushed. Never, ever become a minivan mom. And you'd never give them your phone for a quiet dinner.
Calling boss work phone.
So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, no, it can happen. Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk in temperatures as low as 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Never happens. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
We are the keepers of the wild, America's original and most invested conservationists. For more than 80 years, we've been committed to conserving wildlife and the natural landscapes that define our nation. From rugged alpine ridgelines to peaceful tall grass prairies, we've supported the conservation of more than 36 million acres of American wildlands. Our funding has led to cleaner water, fresher air, and improved wildlife habitat. From abundant fish and waterfowl populations to robust deer and elk herds, nothing is more important than maintaining wild spaces for adventurers to explore and wildlife to thrive. We are America's hunters and target shooters, stewards of the American outdoors.
America's hunters and target shooters, along with firearm, ammunition, and archery manufacturers, have invested more than $46 billion to help state fish and wildlife agencies manage and protect wildlife and wildlands across America. For more information, visit outdoorstewards.org.
I'm Cole Dutchendorf with the Game Sports Update brought to you by Bottle Cap Sports Bar. KU football officially named their Week 1 starting quarterback earlier today. Redshirt sophomore Isaiah Marshall beat out redshirt junior Cole Ballard for the starting role ahead of the Jayhawks opener against Long Island University on September 4th. Marshall played in 9 games for the Jayhawks in 2025. He attempted and completed just 3 passes. He was more effective on the ground, though, as he rushed for 160 yards on 15 carries. K-State actually saw Ballard in his first ever start back in his true freshman season in 2023, when he went 11 for 16 for 162 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions in the Sunflower Showdown, as the Wildcats would go on to beat the Jayhawks in Lawrence 31-27. And former K-State baseball standout Kalen Culpepper hit his 3rd career MLB home run yesterday after being called up to the big leagues for the first time earlier this month. In 16 games with the Minnesota Twins, Culpepper has 19 hits, 6 RBIs, and a batting average of .333. In those 16 games, Culpepper has only gone hitless 3 times and has reached base in all but 2 games. He currently has a 5-game hitting streak, which included his first ever 4-hit game against the Athletics on Monday. And the Royals are back at it tonight, rubber match against the Blue Jays, pregame at 5:30, 6:07, first pitch on K-Man.
Hey, before we get to today's 20 questions in 20 shows, basically part 1 of it, so I was just kind of going through the FCS schedule for today, and when you get to the FCS level, I was talking mascots earlier, that's why I brought up cheetahs. You get a little bit more minor league baseball-ish
Sure.
with some of the mascots, so I kind of pulled some aside here, and let's pick out the coolest FCS mascot. These are at least some of my favorites, and maybe, Cole, you could pick out your favorite. You got the Youngstown State Penguins.
It's really good.
And again, this is a school in Ohio, the Penguins. The St. Thomas Tommies.
Okay. What even is it?
You know, and that's a good question.
Something specifically, or just a man named Tom?
Because really, when I hear Tommies, I'm thinking, do we name a team after Tommy guns?
It's a good question.
You know, I don't know.
You think about that.
The Presbyterian Blue Hose.
I'm a fan of the Blue Hose.
Basically, they're named after stockings,
right?
Which the Boston, the Red Sox are the Red Sox for a reason. They're not the Red Hose; they're the Red Sox,
right?
The West Florida Argonauts.
Argonauts is solid.
I don't think the Argonauts. I don't think that's a real. It's like another word for a Spartan, or
I feel like it's Greek something or other.
Is it like Greek mythology?
That's what it's like, Jason the Argonaut or something. Oh, there we go. Argonauts were a band of legendary heroes in Greek mythology who sailed with Jason on the ship Argo to find the Golden Fleece, of course.
Look at the brain on Cole.
Come on now. Percy Jackson. I got that knowledge on me.
The UT Martin Skyhawks.
Meh.
Okay. One of my favorites here, the Long Island University Sharks. The Long Island Sharks.
It's good. It's good.
Not enough sharks out there. That's a good mascot. The Elon Phoenix.
I do love a good Phoenix.
And that's all I have.
Presbyterian Blue Hose is pretty hilarious. So I think that's a nice little mascot. It's so random. That's a solid one.
I like Tommy's.
Tommy's is good too. Do we know what it is? What the Tommy's actually refers to?
You could give that a quick goog if you want.
The goog.
It's either Tommy's or Sharks. Sharks is a great mascot.
Oh, I think it's like a tomcat. At least their mascot is like a cat vibe.
Forget it. I'm changing. I'm officially, even though, hey, St. Thomas, great, you wear purple.
Tommy
Love
the
you.
Tomcat. Also a feline character. I guess that, never mind. I was thinking that was female character. I had a little brain fart.
It's Sharks for me. I'm going Sharks. Sharks are badasses.
I'll go with the Swathers. Shout out to Heston. H-Town represent.
You even a farmer?
No, the opposite. Not a city boy, but I'm definitely not a farmer.
Great logo.
It's fantastic.
Great logo.
I think it's one of the best in high school logos.
20 questions in 20 shows. Here we go. Today's question, it's 19 out of 20. The last question will be tomorrow. Today's question talking about where K-State's going to be the most improved. This could just be based on what you remember from last year, watching the Cats just with the eye test, position group, or, going something with statistics. Where can K-State improve statistically from last year? You lead off, Cole. You can rattle off a number of ideas, but we got to settle one at some point. But you go ahead. What is right now something that stands out to you about where K-State should be improved in 26 compared, of course, to last year?
It's a good question, and there could be a lot of answers because there's a lot of areas that definitely left room for improvement last year. Just not great overall, obviously. The one that honestly comes to mind first is it doesn't really even involve players. It just involves play calling, and that's specifically on the offensive side of the ball. And this isn't meant as a disrespectful shot at Matt Wells. Colin Klein is one of the Colin Klein is one of the most respected young play callers out there, and based on a couple of the stops that Coach Wells has made, maybe not in that category. So I think that is a big difference. And you see the upstart play callers in the NFL, in college, and it makes a huge difference. I mean, the Sean McVays of the world who can craft the perfect game plans, who have the different route combinations working, who have the different styles of running involved on the offensive line. They can run zone, they can run gap, they can run power, whatever they need to do. Everything comes together as a perfect marriage, working together as one to create the offense. And I think that's a huge factor to this year. It's because you have a guy who is highly respected in that area. It might be my choice for number one. It's where my mind goes straight away. But there's other areas for sure. I think you could definitely start with run blocking, and that's maybe more of a hope. I don't know if it's going to be better, but you can hope that it's going to be better because, again, it wasn't the greatest last year outside of basically the Utah game, because even in Colorado when they were ripping off some of those bigger runs, it still wasn't the most efficient rushing attack in the world. So, again, Utah, UCF, there are the two that come to mind where it was really working on all levels. But run blocking is definitely another area. I think third downs as a team, and that you could throw that back to offensive play calling too to a certain extent. But I don't know what the numbers would say, but the eye test and the gut and the heart felt like the third down conversion rate for the offense last year felt like there was a lot of meat left on the bones in third down situations. Defensively,
let me stop.
Go
you
ahead.
There. Let me stop because I want to respond to your initial.
Yes, by all means. Your
initial bullet point there, because you're talking about the preparing for the matchup. From the scout, the game plan, and what it's been talked out with the OC and with the coaches results in how the game is going to be called, the play calls and things like that, and then adjustments from there on out. You didn't want to disrespect Matt Wells. Look, Matt Wells is a guy, I could probably talk to him all day. But as a football coach, and the decisions that were made, especially with particular play calls, some bad third down calls, playing to the numbers. I mean, I could go. I think the best way to describe it is it just mirrored the issues that Texas Tech had for a couple of years. It was so parallel to Matt Wells as a head coach and their issues. And then he comes over here and, well, as the OC, Avery's having his worst year. The offense, I think, with Avery at quarterback is having its worst year. slow starts, bad finishes.
There were some rough watches, especially earlier in the season.
And I'll certainly get to that. That is, I think, it's no doubt that's improvement number one. Now, will it fall into the answer of being the most improved? There's a lot of things you can break down, and it's going to result in total offense. It's going to result in better third down conversions and the number of first downs you have. But I think you do actually hit the nail on the head that the number one place you got to look at is Avery, yes, is having another offensive coordinator, but we probably have a good sense that this is probably the best fit for Avery in a third year as a starting quarterback. The numbers being improved, just overall improved in wins and losses, because that's where, Coach Klein had a great quote yesterday, great line that, he says a quarterback always gets more praise than he deserves and always gets more hate than he deserves. And I thought that was a really good line, but we haven't reached yet Avery Johnson getting more praise than he deserves. Because I think, honestly, he hasn't gotten the praise he deserves yet. We got to get there first before we get to the more praise than he deserves. So is that resulting in K-State? That's where they're just most improved, is that the play calling is better, the motion of the offense is better? Because Sean Gleason is also a major part of this. He's doing all the OC work, other than what we associate with the OC job and making the play calls. Colin is doing that. But the rest of that job is Sean Gleason. So he is very much a part of this, a very important piece that you also have to consider in this equation, which that effectiveness is still remains to be seen. There has been some good stuff in the past. He's also lost a job of that position as well. So, anyway, if you want to continue with where you wanted to go with the defense.
Defensively, I think I just go to the secondary and kind of look at them as a whole. And not to say that they were bad last year. They certainly had some strong games, strong moments. But I think that's probably currently the position group that I feel the most confident in on the entire team. And it's because you're returning some of the same guys on the outside and Zayshawn and Donovan McIntosh. But you also go to the safety room and you have the combination of returners who were here last year, as well as some guys that you got in the portal that you feel pretty confident about. So I think this isn't really a quantifiable thing that I think they're going to improve on. I just think their secondary is going to be better than it was last year. And again, it's not to say that they weren't okay. I think they were solid in the secondary a year ago, but I just think they're going to take that next step. They're going to be, in my eyes, kind of the backbone of the defense to a certain extent, which you probably prefer it to be your defensive line or your linebackers, because you can play really good coverage as a defensive back, as a corner, as a safety, and still get beat by a good throw or a good route combination, whatever it be. But if you have really good rushers who are getting home in a second and a half, 2.5 seconds or whatever, it's going to make your job a lot easier on the outside. But I feel very confident in what the secondary can do this year, just as a whole, with all of the parts that they have, with the growth from guys like Logan Bartley, even Wesley Fair to a certain extent last year as well. You just feel more confident in them right now than you probably did a season ago, even though you felt decent about how they did last year.
To be real with you, I don't really have a whole lot of defensive things on my list.
That was me kind of trying to search for one. That was the one that, because defensive line, linebackers, they were solid last year, so the secondary was just kind of where I went to at.
I mean, the reason I don't have a defensive thing really on my list is because, again, I'm thinking of what's the biggest improvement going to be. I got to narrow this down at one point. Well, obviously, just breaking it down as run defense and pass defense obviously could be better. But is that going to be the biggest improvement? Well, the secondary should make some plays. That's going to be improved. But the takeaway aspect of this, last year, K-State, it might be hard to top with the amount of turnovers they forced. They were top 10 in the nation in the turnover department.
You could say they were the only reason. That was the only reason they were 500 and not a losing record on the season.
The defense was inconsistent, but definitely had its moments, was getting stops. Not enough on third down. They were at times on the field too much and got worn down. Maybe not the stats to back that kind of thing up. That's one of you see it with your own eyes. You see these long drives happening. Army was just a disaster. I mean, there was a number of other games like that as well, including, as much as K-State was scoring against Utah, Utah was right back there scoring going down the field, and K-State was struggling to get some stops. So that's really my response. I'm going to go back to what I said yesterday. And I think, truthfully, where the biggest improvement's going to be is making tackles and making plays behind the line of scrimmage. Because, last season, K-State was one of the worst tackle for loss teams in the Power 4 conferences, one of the worst. They had one of the worst total in numbers in that area. Last year, they still had a decent amount of sacks, but we know K-State can be better than 28. But that's still a pretty good number. But going back to Wendell Gregory, going back to Mekhi Mason, they've added guys that have that kind of aggressive play in their DNA. Mekhi Mason is going to be a leader in that area. And the reason is because he is a violent football player. He can be a leader for this defense, lead by example, and really the stats just kind of back it up for itself. He's already got a double-digit tackle for loss season under his belt. I think both he and Wendell Gregory will have double-digit tackle for losses. But plus, he is very good at reading run plays and making plays at the line of scrimmage. That's what I really like about him. Probably the biggest thing that I like about him. It's what made me really like him on day one. It was clearly seen in his tape that he is going to attack the run. That's also something that disappointed us last year with the linebacker play and stopping the run, where we were supposed to see the growth in Austin Romaine. It wasn't as good as it was in 2024. We got to take a break. When we come back, we are officially starting Manhattan Record High School football preview show that you can also hear on our podcast. Just search for the Manhattan Record High School football preview show. We're also posting these interviews on our social medias. But when we come back, we hear from Weston Moody and the Wamego Red Raiders after these words.
Welcome into the Manhattan Record High School football preview show. I am your host, Cole Dutchendorf. Today, we're talking to head coach Weston Moody of the Wamego Red Raiders ahead of the 2026 season. So, Coach, just to start off, a quick recap of last year. It was 9 wins or more for the 5th straight year. It was another deep run into the 4A state playoffs. How proud of you were you of the season that your team was able to put together?
We definitely had some ups and downs early, and I was just extremely proud of how they responded to those early losses that we had. And it's kind of tough when you lose 2 tough games early. Our schedule was loaded, and we knew it was going to be difficult. We had, stretches where we had, top 5 team, in 3A. And so we were able to kind of rebound from those losses and string together a lot of wins, and we're able to make it to the semifinals, which, we always want to have, our team sitting postseason playing our best ball and giving ourselves the best chance to play for a state championship.
And now we sit here kind of in the middle. It's a little bit of a dead period between the end of summer workouts and practice right on the horizon. How did the summer go for the program overall?
Oh, I was very pleased. We got a strong senior leadership team. Our guys are, a lot of these guys have played since sophomore year, and it kind of has that feel of player-led, which is always nice. We always try to tell the guys that this is your team. You have to set the journey and how you want it to be, and these guys have kind of taken the bull by the horns, and they've worked their butts off, and now they're doing player-led stuff, and I see them up there about every evening. So I'm like, I feel good about where we're headed.
And I want to actually start there, and I want to talk about some of the seniors who have been stepping up specifically, who have been some guys that have stepped into that leadership role over the course of the offseason.
Well, Logan Fulton's been our quarterback since sophomore year, so he's the obvious choice. He's the ultimate leader. He's committed to go to Hutch, and I know Coach Dallas is super happy to get him there, and he's kind of been recruiting him since his sophomore year when we were playing down in Bueller. And so, it's always nice when your quarterback's one of your best leaders, and he's done a fantastic job. Dylan Higgins and Arden Sylvester in the secondary have been, those guys have been consistent since their sophomore year, and so those guys have kind of taken on a leadership role on defense. Mason Ish, also a kid that's played since sophomore year on the defensive side. And then, you got some guys that you don't hear their names very often, but 3 offensive linemen that have played significant reps. Gavin Hammond, Luke Lane, and Landon Steinloggy. Those guys have been on the line of scrimmage for a long time. So we're super jacked about those guys, and we have a good group of kids that are looking forward to putting together a good season.
And you started where I want to start with, Logan. How much of a luxury is it to have a guy like him who's been in the program for so long, who's now been running the offense for a couple of seasons, to be back for his senior season?
Well, it makes our job easier. As coaches, he's like another coach on the field. I mean, he's watching film, asking questions. He's a football guy. He's decided early on that he wanted to be a college football player, and so he has a high-level IQ, always constantly sending messages to coaches, and it honestly does feel like he's an assistant coach. He's just on the field playing, which is a luxury to have, and we've been very fortunate to have him kind of running the show since the sophomore year, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do this senior year, with the weapons like, Reed McDippett is going to be a receiver that he's been throwing to Reed since he was a 4th grader, so that's a guy that has been up there working with him. So we're excited. We're excited to have him leading this team.
Taking another look back at last season, who are some seniors on the offensive side of the ball that are no longer going to be there, that are going to be missed?
Well, Rylan Heald he was a starting tackle for us. Great leader, kid that had started since his sophomore year. We're going to miss him a whole bunch. He was kind of the guy on the line of scrimmage that kind of knew what was going on and helped our younger guys along. Obviously, Dominic Falco was a stud for us this last year, and missing him is definitely going to be something that is not replaceable. His big play potential, and he's going to play college football for a reason. So we're going to miss those 2 guys especially. But we got a lot of guys coming back that are looking to make an impact. We had a transfer over the summer, Drew Hoffman from Clay Center. He's going to be a stud for us. I see him doing multiple things for us. So we got some guys that are going to step into some roles to kind of fill the void that those seniors from last year had.
Coach, for your guys' brand of football, it's tough, it's hard-nosed, and that starts in the trenches, and you've got a couple of standouts returning on the offensive line, Rylan and Gavin. How important is their continuity for the strength of the line overall and ultimately the offense?
Well, yeah. Well, like everybody knows that, when we get into November, you never know what you're going to get. We had a couple years ago, we played McPherson in freezing cold, rain, and you got to change your game plan. Maybe you're a passing team, and passing's not an option. And everybody knows that if you can't control a line of scrimmage, you can't win football games, especially in November. So having those guys, be consistent starters and knowing what's going on and are physical at the point of attack, those are things that we're going to have at some point during the year.
And last question for you on the offensive side, who are some guys who maybe haven't played a ton in the last couple of years who you're going to need to step up to help the offense in 2026?
Oh, in our receiving core, Kason Ingles is going to have to step up. He's a newbie, did really well in JV. He's going to have to be another receiver for us. Brandon Pale is a senior this year. We've kind of moved him around a little bit. He's going to have to be pretty special on offense for us. Obviously, we needed a true tight end. Hayden Simon was our tight end. He played both sides of the ball towards the end, but we're actually going to put Drew there, and so hopefully he can step up and make an impact this year. And then on defensive side of the ball, we lost some guys up front on the D-line. Pretty much our whole D-line is gone. So Triggs Fly was our offensive lineman. We moved him over to defense. Braden Griffin's going to have to be a stud for us. He's a sophomore. So there's some guys that are going to have to step into some roles, and as young guys. But we've had a pretty good success rate for some of those kids, and they're just going to keep getting better as the season goes along.
We'll pause our conversation right there with head coach Weston Moody of the Wamego Red Raiders and hear a word from our sponsor, Manhattan Wrecker, as you're listening to the Manhattan Wrecker High School Football Preview Show.
There's a lot of things that can change in a split second while driving. So whether your vehicle experiences pass interference, cramps up, or doesn't make it between the tackles, call Manhattan Wrecker. From roadside assistance to heavy-duty hauling, Manhattan Wrecker will save you with a Hail Mary. So when your vehicle calls inaudible or you commit a penalty, call the trusted team that's been proudly helping Manhattan and the surrounding areas with clutch play since 1955. Manhattan Wrecker.
The Manhattan Wrecker High School Football Preview Show continues. I'm your host, Cole Belchendorf. We're having a conversation with head coach Weston Moody of the Wamego Red Raiders. And you're going exactly where I wanted to go next, and that is the defense. And I want to start with one player specifically. How impressive was Hayden last year to come in as a sophomore and receive an honorable mention nod in the NCKL at that linebacking spot?
Yeah, he's and honorable mention is kind of the low award for him, in my opinion. He's an absolute animal, and he's worked his tail off this spring, and he's every bit of 6'2", 6'3", 210, 220. I mean, he's a beast. So I'm looking forward to him. He was really one of the only guys that we've ever had in the program that have consistently played both sides of the ball, and he did it pretty successfully. So he's a guy that we could possibly move back over at some point if we needed it. But he's so valuable as our Mike linebacker that I think it's going to be tough to move him because he's just an absolute animal in the middle. And we're looking forward to him and Mason Ish and some of those guys on defense. They're physical, and it's going to be fun to watch.
We talked about Logan being the actual quarterback. Well, then you got your quarterback of the defense is just now going to be a junior. I mean, that's pretty special, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And yeah, he's the same type of person. He's a football guy and loves the game and studies it and brings everybody else along. And so, yeah, having two special dudes is very, very nice for us as coaches. We feel like we're facilitating a lot and not having to manage some things that typically you do when you have some young guys in there. We have guys that are experienced and accept leadership roles.
Who are some other players you'll be relying on that side of the ball this year to take a step up?
Well, like I said, echoed earlier, Triggs Fly, we moved him over. Braden Griffin is going to have to be a stud for us. Craig Simonson is a senior, going to be a D lineman. Levi Brown is an actual. He's one of the most athletic guys, and he's only going to be a sophomore. So we're going to need him to be, kind of our other outside linebacker. And then at cornerback, Sam Rogers is returning, but we got Israel Cameron that played significant reps last year, and he's going to have to step up. So we got some guys that are going to have to step up, but I've seen them on the varsity field before, and they've worked really, really hard. So I don't think they're going to have any trouble stepping up.
Now, Coach, looking at the season as a whole, there's 3 additions to the schedule and 3 teams that obviously last year are not going to be on the schedule this year. It's also 3 different classifications for the 3 teams that you'll be adding to the schedule. Walk us through what some of those matchups could look like next year.
Yeah, it's tough when your league is 3A and then Marysville bumped down to 2A. So, a lot of those NCKL opponents aren't on our schedule, and that's not because we didn't want them. It's because they had districts and 3A's, different than 4A, and so the only 4A teams in NCKL are Rock Creek, us, and Abilene. So we had to go and find different opponents, and that's never easy when we've had to success the past 5, 6 years. So teams are just avoiding us like wildfire. So we're trying to find different opponents. obviously Mulvane is a 4A. They were the 1 seed. We were the 2 seed this last year. So Mulvane, we picked up Mulvane. Jeff West, they're a new, up and coming squad with Coach Schwinn and his 2 sons that are studs. That's a very intriguing matchup, especially going into playoffs. That's our last week. Heston's another team that we picked up. They're a tough team. They made it into the quarterfinals of 3A last year. Obviously, Rock Creek is one we circle every year because they're a rival, and they're getting to the semifinals and playing Andale last year. So we have some tough matchups that I think are going to provide us what we need to kind of get a feel of where we're at and prepare us for a deep run like we want.
And last question for you, Coach. What's the biggest key for a successful season for Wamego?
I think just staying consistent with what we're good at. We've had a lot of success with, doing the things in the past that we've been good at, and we've gotten really good at it. Our scheme has been kind of consistent. Our players know it. They are comfortable with it. And then, obviously everybody in football talks about it, but you got to stay healthy and you got to keep your guys fresh and make sure that, guys that are backing them up can bump over and play different positions. Every year you're going to have guys go down with injuries. So we talk about it all the time. Our squad never looks the same as it did week 1 as it does week 10, week 11, rolling into the playoffs. So we got to stay consistent, and we got to keep building every week on our strengths and to make sure that our weaknesses don't hold us back from what we want to accomplish.
Well, Coach, we appreciate your time as always and look forward to another season of Red Raider football.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
That's head coach Weston Moody of the Wamego Red Raiders, getting prepared for 2026, trying to continue that success that they've had over the last several years. I've been your host, Cole Betchendorf. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Manhattan Wrecker High School Football Preview Show.
Presented by Chick-fil-A and Community First National Bank. America 250. Happy birthday, America, where freedom is written, protected, and lived every day.
The 20th century called America to lead. Through global conflicts and historic challenges, Americans defended freedom at home and abroad. From the Great Depression to victory in World War II, the nation showed resilience, unity, and strength. Then, in 1969, the world watched as astronauts from NASA landed on the moon, a giant leap for mankind. Innovation, courage, determination defined the century. America 250, rising to meet history's greatest moments.
Brought to you by Chick-fil-A, Community First National Bank, Faith Furniture, Rothwell Landscape, Visit Manhattan, the Museum of Art and Light, and Manhattan Broadcasting.
At Stormontville Health, our patients are our neighbors and our communities our home.
We invest in your health and our community by bringing high-quality healthcare closer to home. From our Wamego Clinic to our new campus in Manhattan and the Flint Hills Hospital in Junction City. Our partnerships with organizations like the Mayo Clinic and the Children's Miracle Network bring top-notch expertise to our region. We take pride in local collaboration to stay connected to our communities. Visit StormontVale.org.
Stormontville Health, high-quality care closer to home.
Stop. Look no further than Buck Roofing. For nearly 20 years, Buck has specialized in top-quality roofing, installation, and repairs for residential and commercial properties. Call for a free, no-obligation estimate. 785-230-9379.
Hear the roar of the engines. It's the Fox Saturday Night Wild Ride, where you can catch all your favorite shows back-to-back, bumper to bumper. In Lane 1, it's a special new hour of Cops, Tased, and Confused.
I'm gonna hurt you, buddy!
In Lane 2, it's a special edition of America's Most Wanted. And in Lane 3, it's your favorite laugh-injected funny car and all-new Mad TV.
Holy shizzle.
They're all revved up and roaring. There's no wilder ride on TV. Get your thrills tomorrow on Fox, starting at 8/7 Central. Be there.
The phone's blowing up, but you're in the driver's seat. Ignore the buzz, keep your eyes on the street. No text back, no scroll, just let it wait. Attention on the road, that's the only way. Phone's blowing up, but you're in the driver's seat. Ignore the buzz, keep your eyes on the street. No text back, no scroll, just let it wait.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Hi, it's Olivia Munn with my shelter pets, Frankie and Chance, reminding you that when you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the Humane Society of the United States, and Maddie's Fund.
KS State Bank offers convenient services to help make life a little
Right now in Manhattan, 86 with mostly sunny skies, a slight breeze out of the north at around 7 miles an hour. Mostly clear tonight with a low around 64, then heading into tomorrow, 30% chance of rain that's mainly before 10 in the morning. After that, a clearing out of the clouds with mostly sunny skies and a high near 89. Mostly clear with the low around 72 on Friday night. Then on the weekend, it's the wind picking up out of the south to around 25 miles an hour. And mostly sunny skies on Saturday with the high of 94 and a high of 97 on Sunday.
K-Man Daily Weather is presented by Fox Business. Short hour 2 of the game after work. Mitch and Cole were with you until 5:30 because the Royals are coming up. Another game in Toronto, which we just heard during the update. One of the Great Lakes, Lake Ontario, is now Lake America.
Yep.
Feel like that's a waste of time. But even what's more fascinating is you'll have to look this up. Canada has the most hilarious names for its lakes.
Really?
Look this up. I don't want to spoil it. You give it a Google real quick.
Like just lakes in general or the Great Lakes?
No, not the Great Lakes. I'm talking just lakes in general, because especially on the west side of Canada, it's hilarious.
They have a lake called Another Lake.
Another Lake, yep.
This Lake.
This Lake.
Stupid Lake.
Stupid Lake is a real one.
Man Drowned Himself Lake.
Yep.
Crotch Lake.
Yep.
Dead Dog Lake.
Yep.
Dummy Lake.
Yep.
Big Ass Lake.
Yes, I've seen that on Google Maps.
This man's lake, that man's lake, the other man's lake, no man's lake. There's a lot.
You see what I'm saying?
You weren't lying. Misery Lake.
There was no government official that named these lakes.
Yeah. Couple of lake names I can't even say over the air.
Really?
Yeah. It gets a little NSFW. I think it's one of the words that are under the 7 that you can't say under the FCC guidelines.
I didn't see those.
Now that is a Reddit post, so I don't know if actually that's a Minnesota lake. Actually,
every one of those that you've said though, I've read about. They all ring a bell.
This is a Minnesota lake that I cannot say over the air. Actually, a couple of lakes in Minnesota, which it is the land of 10,000 lakes. So,
well, and Canada is also full of those small lakes. Like they're pretty tiny. They might as well be called ponds, you know. And I'm guessing some might be on private property. But like one of you mentioned is called Big Ass Lake. There's houses you can purchase to live by Big Ass Lake.
That's great.
Because it's a big ass lake in Nova Scotia. That's all true.
Nova Scotia is a fire name, by the way. Rolls off the tongue so well. Shout out to whoever came up with that.
I like Saskatchewan.
It's really good as well. And a lot of the province names are pretty fire.
The big town there is Saskatoon.
Saskatoon.
Fun fact, that's where Bret Hart won his first world title. Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Over the Nature Boy Ric Flair.
Yeah, I thought so.
Put him in the old sharpshooter.
Yeah.
You have to look it up. It's a good time. All right, hour 2, we continue on with our 20 questions in 20 shows. Today's question it's a bit of a part 2 because I haven't really got to share where my thoughts are yet. It's where will K-State be the most improved in 2026? Did you say what you officially are going with?
Well, there's one more, and this is the one that is, it's tough to ignore, and it's special teams. And it hasn't been great the last couple of years, to kind of put it mildly. Specifically, the return game. No complaints, 0 with Luis Rodriguez and everything that he was able to put together. Maybe a couple of complaints in the punting game because that was a little up and down over the last couple of seasons, and the consistency, there was a lack of that. But mainly punt and kickoff returns. I just believe fully in Stanton Weber. Because of his background and his experience at K-State, he knows what special teams means to this program, to this university. So I fully expect that to maybe not immediately return to the glory days of K-State special teams, but I think that is immediately going to look a heck of a lot better than it has the past couple of seasons. I just think with the passion that he has for special teams, the experiences that he has gotten outside of K-State, at South Carolina, in the MAC, I think that's all going to behoove him. I think he's helping get the team more bought into special teams. So I think special teams is another area that's going to have a huge improvement from last season. But I still go back to the play calling offensively. That's where I officially am this is where I'm planting my flag, is that play calling on the offensive side of the ball is going to be the biggest improvement from 2025 to 2026.
A text from the 219, instead of H-O-M-E-S, Holmes, to remember the names of the Great Lakes, now it is S-H-A-M-E, shame.
It's fair.
Whoa. 219, first of all, I want to know what state that area code is, and two, did you figure this out on your own, or did you find that out somewhere else? Because I didn't even know.
It's California.
The Holmes acronym, it's Cali, 219?
Oh, 219?
As I say, that one didn't sound like a Cali area code. You're
thinking
of 212.
Not quite California. That is the northwestern corner of Indiana.
Ah, the new home of the Chicago Bears. Congratulations.
Yes.
Oh, it just got back to us, Northwest Indiana. Del Region, yes.
Del Region.
I like that. Yes, I had not heard that one yet. So, yes. I didn't know there was an acronym for the Great Lakes. So, they say you learn something every day.
Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, and Superior.
To be fair, the first thing I learned today was that St. Thomas, their mascot is the Tommies. That's what I first learned today. So
about
sorry.
And they're Tomcats.
Sorry, 219. Yes, and the Tomcats. Okay, and what an Argonaut is. So yeah, a little late to the party there. 219
today.
Okay, let me get to mine. You mentioned, I think honestly, what we kind of all feel is going to be the number one. When we talk to Mason next week, I'm sure when we ask him, that's going to be the number one. Mm-hmm. It's the one thing we want to see. I can't wait for Brandon White to house one on the opening kickoff of the season. I think that's going to be an absolutely electric. Yeah, we all have a pretty good feeling that special teams is going to be a lot better in the return game, especially punt return. Punt return last year didn't exist. Was literally one of the worst in the country in punt return. They didn't have a ton of them. But also what was a bit of a problem is when opponents were punting, it was like around midfield, instead of from their own 20 or 25 or whatever, which kind of leads me into where I'm leaning here. Now, this is a little bit more of a bigger picture look, but maybe some stats to back it up to think, yeah, it should be better despite the questions that we have. And it's something that I stated earlier in the show. My answer to this question is going to be slow starts and bad finishes, because I'm literally just going with the one thing that still kind of lingers with me from last year that just simply pissed me off the most. The bad starts, the poor finishes. I mean, I went and looked at the poor starts. I pulled the first three drives of every game last year. 36 of those drives, and at least 2/3 of those drives ended in a fumble, an interception, a 3-and-out, a punt, or turnover on downs. As a matter of fact, it's exactly 2/3 of those drives ended up in giving the ball to somebody else in a really poor start. The majority of those are the 3-and-outs, because they had a 3-and-out and punt 10 times on those 36 drives. And then I went back and looked at the fourth quarter of all 12 games last year, and the majority of the time it ended in a punt or turnover on downs or a fumble or an interception. With the exception of, they did score 9 touchdowns in those, a couple of garbage time touchdowns, yes, which I won't take that away. The starts were worse than the finishes, but there are still a handful of finishes that stick out to better execution, and you're not having a 6-6 year. It's maybe not as a disappointing season. So I'll go back to the Utah game and how poorly that game ended for the Wildcats with a little bit of a ref show going on. K-State was so poor both at the start and the ending of the Oklahoma State game, the Cowboys had a chance to win. The Baylor game was just terrible at the end. Arizona's start and finish was abysmal. The Army game finish was just a travesty. And K-State, well, both teams kind of started slow, but Iowa State was the better team at the end in Dublin, Ireland. A lot of things can add up to this, and if you want to break it down statistically, K-State's got to be a lot better on first downs. They were 14th in the Big 12 last year, and statistically, this is one of their worst stats. 122nd in the country last year on first downs gathered throughout a game. Third down conversions was 12th in the Big 12 at under 38%. What Colin Klein is not going to stand for is that K-State last year lost time of possession. And when I think of Bill Snyder, that was a coach that absolutely refused and would not ever consider losing time of possession. And Klieman preached that as well. Time of possession is such a big key. It's such a big key that Colin has that up on the wall. One of the 4 phases that they're going to win every single game is time of possession. And K-State lost time of possession last year. 6 games last year. It was pretty embarrassing to see the difference in time of possession. There was one game they lost by more than 10 minutes time of possession. Really bad stuff there. Where I think it really can boil down to is K-State's passing game. That was 14th in the Big 12 last year at under 200 yards per game. There's a lot of excitement. There should be a lot of excitement. Despite the questions that we still have about the offensive line, working with Colin Klein, Avery's now a third year as a starter. Having a third-year starter is a really big deal. The passing game is going to open things up. The passing game is going to be the game changer, in my opinion. Although I still have the belief, no doubt, that K-State has certainly some good talent at running back. The running backs can be a big part of this game. But it still sticks with me that we've heard from a handful of the wide receivers that they've talked about how surprised they have been about how much they're throwing the football in practice. They're throwing the football a lot at practice. So what it tells me is it feels like, yes, the passing game is going to be a pretty big deal. Well, it should be. Because Jerron Tibbs, who had almost 600 yards as a number 2 receiver last year, that should excite you. Josh Manning, who's finally a Wildcat, is going to have his best opportunity to show off his skill, should excite you. Brandon White, who was the 3rd leading receiver at Hawaii last year, who spread the football more than anybody else in college football last year, and yet he's talked about being a very talented, quick, even though small, quick player that is hard to guard. And earlier today, ESPN named him in their top 50 breakout players to watch for in 2026. That should excite you. Isaiah Williams and what he can add to this team should excite you in the tight end position. Rodney Fields catching the ball in the backfield is potentially your best option out of the running backs, and he already proved that last year at Oklahoma State. Should excite you that this passing game, it should be the best with Avery Johnson at quarterback. He averaged about 208 a game. I think he's going to be well north of 2,500 passing yards this coming season. I don't think it's going to be 3,000, but it's going to be his best year yet as a throwing quarterback. The running game is still going to be a big part of his game, but the passing game is going to be his best in his career this upcoming season. So that's all going to add up to just being a better team out of the gates and being a stronger finishing team when it matters the most and winning close games, which K-State I think is going to have quite a few like they did this past season.
It's kind of just situational football in general, like knowing and being disciplined in the areas where it maybe is the most important to be disciplined. And of course, quarters 2 and 3 matter a lot too, but it also matters how you're closing games out. And we saw pretty consistently down the stretch that team was not doing. I think it's a great answer because I also think that, don't want to make this sound like a shot at the previous coaching staff again. Chris Klieman is a legend and will always be. I think you saw maybe that lack of discipline was one of the biggest things, and just the lack of attention to detail in some of the biggest moments of the game. One of them that comes immediately to mind is first game of the year in Ireland, where you end up with Cody Stufflebean on Carson. I'm blanking on his last name, but the running back from Iowa State on the fourth down that ended up sealing the game.
Carson Hansen.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's probably something that shouldn't be happening in that kind of situation, even if I know you're trying to dial up a weird-looking blitz on that kind of down just to catch Iowa State off guard. At the end of the day, you got to put the right players in the right positions to make the play in that situation. Just stuff like that where it's I maybe trust this coaching staff basically solely on what they've been preaching over the last couple of months, which is we're going to attack the very minute details down to the 2.5 hour long practices. We're going to have every single detail prepped for, planned for, and repped at some point during the spring and the summer and the fall. So I think that's a good answer.
Well, and let me I want to be very clear about this. What's also very key about just opening that up and sticking with the offense is winning the ground game, getting the running game going, getting these 3 running backs going, and winning. And it starts at the line of scrimmage, and it starts with this offensive line. Because I also go back to last year, and I looked this up right before we hit the air today. I was like, I should go back and look at tackles for loss that the offensive K-State, the line gave up last year, because they still did a pretty good job in pass protection. Avery's a great scrambler. That's a big part of it as well. But yes, most of the TFLs they gave up last year were in the running game, and K-State was one of the worst at the Power 4 level in giving up TFLs, almost 6 a game, and that was 93rd in the country. So that's a very, very big key to all that sort of turning around. I just couldn't go defense because, again, we have right now kind of too many questions about the defensive line. And what we need to see them do is obviously a better job at stopping the run in crucial times, which in crucial times they did not last year. But that all adds up to what K-State just needs to get done compared to last year, in my opinion. Start better and finish better. Oh, and I left a big one out. If you make a mistake, don't go kick a gosh darn bench and hurt yourself.
It's a good one. It's a good lesson to learn.
We'll take a break. We'll wrap it up. Ask Us Anything is after these words. Center, your unique condition is at the center of what we do. Locally owned, OSMC is all-inclusive, featuring state-of-the-art equipment and treatment from diagnosis through surgery, physical therapy, and a return to activity to get you back to an active and pain-free life. Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Center, the same doctors trusted by Kansas State University. The greatest comebacks begin here. More information at kansasortho.com.
I could tell you about the superb quality and distinctive designs offered at Tallgrass Windows and Doors, but what you really want to know is whether the morning sun will warm your bare feet in your new bedroom, or when you throw open the swinging door in your new dining room, will the outdoors burst in like a fragrant blessing? Will life take a pause as a glowing sunset turns your new living room to gold? Visit their showrooms in Wamego or Lawrence, or visit their website at tallgrasswindows.com. Tallgrass Windows. Excellence without exception.
You say you'd never give in to a meltdown. Never let kids' toys take over the house. And never fill your feed with kid photos. You'd never plan your life around their schedule. Never lick your thumb to clean their face. And you'd never let them leave the house looking like less than their best. You say you'd never put a pacifier in your mouth to clean it. Never let them stay up too late. And never let them run wild through the grocery store.
Peanut on aisle 6. And aisle 3.
So when you say you'd never let them get into a car without you there, no, it can happen. 1 in 4 hot car deaths happen when a kid gets into an unlocked car and can't get out. Never happens. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Most people out here think that taking care of one another is important. And most people would step up for a neighbor going through a tough time. Most people around here help out friends and family when they need it. But the funny thing is, most of us won't look for help when we need it. If you're struggling with mental health, You should know that there are resources out there that can help. And it's okay to talk about it if you need to. One place to get started with information is loveyourmindtoday.org. Loveyourmindtoday.org offers a range of guides, instructions, and insights for dealing with difficult situations or getting through a tough time. If you're struggling with mental health, get the help you need, because most people out here really care. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
The more you listen to your kids, the closer you'll be. So we asked kids, what do you want your parents to hear?
I feel sometimes that I'm not listened to. I would just want you to listen to me more often and evaluate situations with me and lead me towards success.
We're not adults, so just be there and listen. I just want someone to yap to. And I just feel like I'll be fine if someone just hears me talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk.
You're doing a really good job. And I don't think I tell you that enough. And I know sometimes we get into it and it's just hard on both of us. But try to understand me more and I'll try to do the same.
Listening is a form of love. Find resources to help you support your kids and their emotional well-being at sounditouttogether.org. That's
All right, question for today for Ask Us Anything to wrap up the show. Would you take, this is another would you rather, time travel but only 10 seconds into the past or future, or $10 million?
Let me get this straight. You're asking me if I could time travel for 10 seconds or take $10 million.
Yeah.
$10 million all day.
It's a bad take.
What? What am I going to see in 10 seconds?
Think about the blackjack table. Think about betting on balls and strikes. On the next pitch is going to be a ball or it's going to be a strike.
I don't have $10 million to bet.
You're going to eventually once you get every single one of them right.
In 10 seconds?
You're going to be able to go back 10 seconds. You see the pitch, you say, okay, that was a ball, and let me go
and throw a bet I can barely open my phone and click on an app in 10 seconds.
That's on you. I'm saying you have your phone readily available. You're sitting in the stands. You're pulling.
Where am I getting Wi-Fi?
A Brendan Sorsby.
Where am I getting Wi-Fi in 1911? How am I getting a signal?
1911.
Yeah, Babe Ruth. I'm gonna bet on a home run.
Why are we going to 1911?
It's time traveling.
10 seconds.
Oh, I'm gonna go to 19.
You can only time travel 10 seconds backwards or forwards. Is what I'm saying.
Oh,
like from current present day. Like from where we are right now, you can time travel 10 seconds into the future or 10 seconds into the past. So it's
take $10 million.
It's 5/28/05. All right. Well, now it's 5/28 or 5/17.
Why would I only time travel 10 seconds?
That's part of the would you rather. It's do you want this ability? Do you want to be able to have a perfect conversation with everyone you meet for the rest of your life?
I can do this forever. It's not just a one-time thing.
No. You have unlimited uses of this 10 seconds.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
I can use this for life.
Correct.
Okay.
It doesn't expire.
Well, you said it was no at first, but now it's true. Okay, well, I'm not getting myself into too many jams. If I had this in high school maybe, and I need a second opening line.
I could have used this for the one wreck that I've been in my life.
Was it bad?
No, not really. My car just got... I rear-ended someone. But somehow their car, no scratches on it. My car was a little bit banged up. But no injuries or anything.
I'm still taking the cash.
I'm taking the 10-second time travel, and I'm going to conquer the world.
I mean, if I wanted to go back and give a better call of a play or something, get a mulligan, make it more of a highlight, I pretty much nailed it on the first take. Well, let's wrap it all up. Hey, we're back for 2 hours tomorrow. The return of Mitch in Vegas. We got week 0 college football games to predict. We'll have our final 20 questions in 20 shows. What could that question possibly be? What do we have left to answer? That's all coming up. Plus, we are planning to be joined by former K-State wide receiver Tremaine Thompson joining us once again on tomorrow's show. For Cole, I'm Mitch. Have a good rest of your day. Royals are next. Go Cats.